President al-Assad sends a cable of solidarity to President Putin, stressing Syria's support of Russian. The United States decides to increase its military presence in the Baltic region as Russia seeks to find a solution to the crisis in the Ukraine. Syrian Arab army tightens siege on terrorists in Yabrud and eliminate dozens of them. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our news for today. President Bashar al-Assad has sent a cable to Russian President Vladimir Putin in which he expressed on his own behalf and on behalf of the Syrian Arab people Syria's solidarity with President Putin's efforts to restore security and stability to the friendly state of Ukraine in the face of the attempts to overthrow legitimacy and democracy in favor of the terrorist extremists through his wise policy and commitment to international legitimacy and the legal basis that govern relations among countries and peoples. President al-Assad stressed that President Putin's policy that embraces international legitimacy and the UN objectives remains the guarantee for all peoples of the world to create a balanced, transparent world order that respects state sovereignty and people's right to self-determination. President al-Assad reiterated Syria's support for President Putin's rational, peace-loving policy that seeks to establish a world order which backs stability and fights extremism and terrorism. President al-Assad expressed confidence in President Putin's ability to restore legitimacy and calm to Ukraine and the Ukrainian people's success in ending extremism and terrorism in their country. President al-Assad considered the Russian leadership's stand in terms of championing right and honesty as contributing to the making of the people's aspired for future in order to bring the world out of any dangerous situation that may face states and peoples. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stressed that Russia is cooperating with its Western partners to find a solution to the crisis in the Ukraine. Meanwhile, the US continues to create tension by deciding to double the number of its troops in the Baltic Sea.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has held a meeting with Russia's Security Council to discuss the situation in the Ukraine, as tension is running high after the United States announced it is planning to expand military presence in the Baltic states to show support for its allies on the wake of the Ukraine's crisis. Pentagon Chief Chuck Hagel said the U.S. Defense Defense Department is pursuing measures to support these states, including expanding aviation training in Poland and increasing the U.S. role in NATO's air policing mission over the Baltic countries. The U.S. hostile move followed a warning by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to his American counterpart John Kerry during their meeting in Paris that the West is pushing things towards escalation in the Ukraine. Lavrov stressed that Russia will work hard to prevent any bloodshed, affirming that the agreement signed on the 21st of February between President Viktor Yanukovych and the Ukrainian opposition must not be annulled. He added that Russia does not issue orders to the self-defense forces in Crimea, pointing out that the Russian fleet soldiers in the Black Sea are present in their permanent positions. Meanwhile, Crimean parliament voted today to join Russia, and its government set a referendum within 10 days. EU leaders gathered in Brussels for an emergency meeting to discuss the situation.
Syrian Arab Army unit has eliminated 43 terrorists and wounded 53 others in Rihan district and downtown Adra in Damascus suburbs, destroying 6 vehicles loaded with arms and ammunition. Among the killed, the Afghani Mohammed Saeed al-Antoni, a leader of a terrorist group, was identified. Syrian Arab Army units have destroyed terrorist hideouts and killed and wounded a large number of them, some of whom were members of al-Nusra and the so-called Islamic Front in Yabrud and its surroundings, as well as in the towns and villages of Damascus countryside. 2 vehicles provided with machine guns were destroyed and several armed men were killed or wounded in the city of Yabrud. Meanwhile, the Syrian Arab Army continues to advance in Rima farms after eliminating a number of al-Nusra terrorists and destroying their weapons north of Yabrud in the direction of al-Sahel village. The Syrian Arab Army has eliminated a number of armed men, including leaders of terrorist groups in Homs suburbs. The Syrian Arab Army also eliminated Zakariyat Kher, a leader of a terrorist group, and a number of his group's members, and wounded others in Azdara village in Tel Kalakh suburbs. Several armed men were also killed in Abu al-Az farms in Tel Bisa suburbs. Meanwhile, the Syrian Arab Army unit seized trenches and tunnels equipped with electric wires and containing explosive devices between Tel Adib and Azdara villages in Tel Kalakh suburbs. One of the tunnels was 1 kilometer long. Other tunnels and trenches were found during the Syrian Arab Army's combing operations in Alush, Jalala and Adib hills adjacent to Azdara village. The military source reported this added that the tunnels led to fortified rooms that the terrorists used as headquarters where they planned their criminal operations against the Syrian Arab Army and civilians. The inhabitants of Az-Zahira and the neighboring quarters took to the streets today in support of the Syrian Arab Army and the national principles and in appreciation of the Syrian Arab Army's sacrifices for the sake of the homeland's unity and sovereignty. The participants in the march stressed adherence to the homeland and determination to go ahead together with the valiant soldiers of the Syrian Arab Army in deterring terrorism. They stressed that our heroes' sacrifices are a symbol of Syria's honor and steadfastness. Welcome back. Syria's diplomatic success that violates UN laws and norms. U.S. State Department spokeswoman Jennifer Psaki has said the American decision was to restrict the movements of the Syrian ambassador to the UN within a 40-kilometer radius of New York City. According to the spokeswoman Psaki, al-Jaafari was handed late last February a diplomatic message in New York to notify him that his movements would be restricted to be within a 25 miles radius around Manhattan. Washington's step and its timing triggers several questions, as Dr. al-Jaafari is an ambassador to the UN, not Washington. Therefore, the UN and no other side should be concerned with a measure of such a kind. Washington is not entitled to take advantage of its being a state hosting the UN headquarters in order to restrict the work of the diplomatic missions to the UN. Clashes were resumed between Iraqi army and terrorist gangs affiliated with the so-called the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, in which Iraqi warplanes took part, resulted in the killing of 87 terrorists and the capturing of 19 vehicles loaded with weapons and ammunition. Meanwhile, Iraqi Interior Ministry said that it has arrested 80 terrorists and destroyed dozens of training camps run by Daesh terrorist gangs, in addition to confiscating 12 weapon hideouts. On the other hand, Samarra Operation Command said that 5 Iraqi policemen were killed, in addition to 8 suicide terrorists in an attempt to attack a government complex in the city. In the city of al-Mosul, Iraqi forces killed 9 terrorists and arrested 16 others inside a den full of mortar shells and machine guns. Finally, Iranian Assistant Foreign Minister for Arab African Affairs Hussein Amir Abdullahian strongly denied reports circulated by the Zionist entity about stopping an Iranian ship in the Red Sea loaded with weapons allegedly heading to Gaza. He added that the whole affair is based on lies and fabrications. But TV had captured yesterday a ship loaded with missiles heading to Gaza. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Karun Kürkcan, but after a short break.
Good afternoon. The Minister of Oil, Sulaiman Abbas, said that the ministry is preparing a circulate using the smart card for fuel, asserting that in April 15th the smart card will be adopted for all ministries' mechanisms and in July it will be adopted for all public sectors' mechanisms. The minister also expected that using the smart card will achieve important fuel savings, which in turn leads to save more amounts in the government treasury, noting that the smart card enables us to know all the mechanism data, its movement and consumption. The director of the Syrian Investment Commission affirmed that the Commission has licensed 8 investment projects since the beginning of this year until the end of February. On the other hand, the investment projects cost hit 4.25 billion Syrian pounds, as the licensed projects provide 1,130 job opportunities in several governorates like Damascus, Al-Hasaka, Aleppo, Hama, Homs and Tartus. The Director General of the Free Zones establishment asserted that 15 industrialists who were affected by the terrorist attacks have transferred their facilities to the free zones. He also affirmed that some facilities have been transferred and resumed their work, as they provided the local and abroad markets with their products. On the other hand, he underlined that the Free Zones Bill had been presented by the Ministry of Economy and Foreign Trade to the Economic Committee in coordination with the concerned parties. U.S. crude oil declined for a third day, while Brent was little changed. Futures dropped 0.6%, extending a 1.8% loss yesterday, the most in 2 months. Brent for April settlement was up to 28 cents to reach $108 a barrel. Stocks were little changed after the Standard & Poor's 500 index rose the most this year yesterday. European stocks increased, hovering near a 6-year high as investors weighed earnings and awaited the European Central Bank's interest rate decision. Gold traded below the highest level in more than 4 months, as investors weighed the crisis in Ukraine against the outlook for the U.S. economy and slower physical purchases in China, the world's largest consumer. Gold for April delivery was at $1,338 an ounce. Its lowest level in almost 2 weeks against the dollar, after government advisors say Japan's pension fund, the world's largest, no longer needs to focus on domestic bonds' quick inflation. gentlemen, with this we reach the end of our news. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.